feminist and LGBTQI movement.
Feminist movement. What is feminist movement? Feminist movement can be defined either broadly as collective effort to improve the situation of women or narrowly as movements that specifically embrace a feminist identity. What is the difference between feminist and feminism? Feminists refer to a person whose beliefs and behavior are based on feminism. Feminism refers to the various movements aimed at defending equal social and economic rights for women. It also consists in establishing equal opportunities for women. The feminist movement composed of four waves. First wave. The first attempt to organize movement for women's rights occurred in Seneca Falls, New York in July 1848. Composed of middle or upper-class white women and involved suffrage and political equality, education, right to property, organizational leadership, and marital freedom. Second wave. The second wave, it began in 1960 to 1970 that focused on issue of equality and discrimination. It initially starting in the United States with American women, soon spread to other Western countries. Third wave. The third wave, it continued to address the financial, social, and cultural inequality of women in business and in their home lives, and include renewed campaign for greater influence of women in politics and media. It also focused on women's reproductive rights such as right to abortion. Fourth wave. The fourth wave began around 2012 and is characterized by a focus on the empowerment of women. The fourth wave seeks greater gender equality by focusing on gendered norms and the marginalization of women in society. Some of organizations supporting women in the Philippines. The Asociación Feminista Filipino or AFF, the first organization of Philippines in 1905, is dedicated to the promotion of social welfare and the encouragement of the participation of women in public affairs. Umbrella Women's Party or General Assembly Binding Women for Integrity, Reform, Equality, Leadership, and Action or simply Gabriela is a progressive Filipino political party that advocates for women issues and represents Filipino women in the House of Representatives. It addresses social issues such as human rights, poverty, globalization, militarism, violence, rape, culture, health, sex trafficking, censorship, and other issues affecting women. Philippine Commission on Women, formerly the National Commission on the Role of the Filipino Woman, is a government agency run by the government of the Philippines. It promotes gender equality, women's empowerment, and women's rights.
Example of feminist movement are
Reproductive rights in U.S.
Hours after the U.S. Supreme Court opinion overturned Roe v. Wade, abortion rights activists marched to the streets of Dallas. The decision from the conservative majority court removes a woman's constitutional right to an abortion after 50 years. During sundown, a few hundred, filled with frustration, first gathered in Civic Park.
And the women's rights in Iran, Western Asian country.
During the initial outrage over the death of 22-year-old Marsa Amini at the hands of the morality police. Instead, more targeted acts of protest, even strikes. Wednesday's siege of several university campuses, a reminder that the regime has seen off a long list of movements in the past, with activists killed or locked up for years at a time. 5 decades into the Islamic Revolution, will this time be any different? We'll ask about accounts of massacres and why this movement resonates so strongly beyond Iran's border.
Life, freedom. Words that echo across the country in defiance. With the start of the academic year, female students in Iran have taken up the baton. High schoolers shouting anti-regime slogans, tearing photos of the state's leaders out of textbooks and defacing them while removing their headscarves. In this footage verified by France 24, a group of bareheaded girls chant "Shame on you." The man in the video being forced out of the school is a Ministry of Education official who came to lecture the female students on the importance of the hijab. The anger has ignited across schools and universities nationwide. Cries of "Death to the dictator," "Death to Khamenei," echoing the same chants in the streets. These students are aware of the risks.
Laws protecting women's rights in Philippines. The first is the 105 expanded maternity leave law, and the second is the prohibition on discrimination against women. The third is the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004, and the number 4 is assistance for small-scale women entrepreneurs. In the 5 is the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. The number 6 is the Anti-Rape Law of 1997. Number 7 is the Rape Victim Assistance and Protection Act of 1998. And number 8 is the Magna Carta of Women. Number 9 is the National Women's Day.
Feminist interview for students.
Ang feminist movement is ginatagaan niya ang mga women na ginatagaan niya right ang mga women to have a full gender equality. Yes, kay di ba naadya po yung inequality kay labi na sa employment. Even that na modern days na karon, naadya po yung mga labi sa employment. Kay ang mga employer mostly ginapili Japon ang mga babae kay mga lalaki kay dili sila magbuntis. So may inequality Japon ang hitabo between men and women. So in my opinion, mas maging better jud ang community, maging safer, maging healthier kung magkaroon og equality.
For agency.
Number 1 is equal rights. So, atong pagkabalo is mas daghan jud og baga rights and opportunity ang mga kalalakinan. That's why natay mga feminist organization, movement for us to enlighten that kinahanglan na adyo equal rights between men and women. Yes, para sa ako, dako jud siya og kabag-uhan no compared sa for the past few years nga ato ang mga na encounter because daghan na og opportunity ang atong mga kababainhan karon no when it comes to employment, to opportunity sa mga especially sa mga rights as a women. Dako siya og contribution sa society ang kanang mga feminist organization nato, mga feminist movement. It's because it can help nga maging aware ang society mismo nga mahimong aware sila about sa rights sa mga kababaihan, sa mga ilahang mga kinahanglan nga i-claim nga mga opportunity and rights para sa ilaha. So dako siya og impact.
LGBTQI movement. LGBTQI movements are social movements that advocate for LGBTQ people in society. Some focus on equal rights, such as the ongoing movement for same-sex marriage, while others focus on liberation for the border society from biphobia, homophobia, and transphobia. Biphobia means dislike or prejudice against bisexual people, then homophobia is the dislike or prejudice against gay people, and transphobia is the dislike or prejudice against transsexual or transgender people. LGBTQI stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex. Lesbian is a woman attracted to other women. Gay is a man attracted to another man. Bisexual are attracted to both men and women. Transgender is someone whose gender identity does not correspond with their sex assigned at birth. Queer do not know their gender identity yet. Intersex are born with extra part of body or hormones, organs that doesn't fit with their gender. The beginning of LGBTQI movement started in homophile movement in 1945 to 1969. It focused on self-help and self-acceptance. Gay liberation movement in 1969 to 1974 focused on equal rights, such as the ongoing movement for same-sex marriage and focused on liberation. LGBT rights movement, or known as gay rights movement, in 1972 to present, it advocates equal rights and calls for an end to discrimination against LGBTQI persons in employment, credit, housing, public accommodation, and emergency office.
LGBTQI Pride Month celebrated every June, annually to honor Stonewall riots in 1969 that celebrated globally. From Western country.
To
Asian country like Philippines.
One Pride sa Quezon Memorial Circle. Pinangunahan ito ng Quezon City Government at Pride PH bilang bahagi ng selebrasyon ng Pride Month. Bukod sa sunod-sunod na performances on stage, isa sa highlight ng programa ngayong hapon ang Pride March. Todo forma ang mga lumahok sa selebrasyon. May naka-gown, mga beauty queen naman ang iba na may corona pa. Ang iba naka-animal print bodysuit with matching knee-high boots. Karamihan.
The only bill supporting the LGBTQI community is the House Bill number 4982, or an act prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity or expression or SOGI, and providing penalties therefore.
LGBTQI interview. For one of LGBTQI.
Ang nakawiyab ko kuan, isa ko karon ng LGBT. Diba karon nga daghan na kayo mga LGBT, no? So na-accept na kong kaugalingon kay daghan naman ko nakita ng mga sa ako so mauto natanggap na nako ay nga ni jud ko kagusto jud ko babae dati kay daghan mo kay mga marites na kay sa una dili pa may tanggap ang mga LGBT, no? So karon daghan naman tayo mga LGBT na kuan na LGBT karon na generation na ako kuan na kanang wala ako naulaw kung sa jud ko na.
For agency.
We have only one goal, dude, in LGBTQIA. So we are fighting for social inclusion. We are fighting for equality and equity, no? Because for how many years, like, we've been condemned by many people. Our rights was being neglected. We've been empowered na din ngayon, and I think it is better for us to really be consistent with that outcome. So we need to be more consistent, and of course to really sustain that development so that we can continuously promote this inclusivity and equality among the members of LGBTQ. Because we've been discriminated and criticized by many, and I think right now it is really important for us to fight for our rights because LGBT rights is also human rights.
Both women and LGBTQI people experience violence, discrimination, and ill treatment globally, and now they are fighting for their equal rights to give them opportunity to improve their well-being and develop their ability and skills to contribute to society.